if I knew then what I now know, I would have started out with private money. In fact, I share with my students all the time. If you're brand new, the money comes first. Is there always going to be deals? Yeah, there's always going to be deals. But it's just downright depressing and stressful to be talking with a seller and they want all the money and you ain't got it, right? So I say and preach, get your money lined up. It's easy to get $500,000 or more in private money in less than 30 days, what I call sitting on the shelf, ready to go.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
This is the #1 podcast whether you're looking to flip, wholesale, or buy rentals. Here at Future Flipper, we transform lives through real estate investing. And now, your host, Brian Davila.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Future Flipper podcast. My name is Brian Davila, your favorite real estate investor. And today we are interviewing a private money expert. He's going to be teaching you how to raise private money, where to find it, what contracts to use, pretty much A to Z, everything you need to know about private money. But first, we have some quick announcements. So Future Flipper is having its last event of the year, September 26th through the 28th. We have Alex and Layla Hermosi speaking at this event. Also, AJ Osborne, Matt Onifero, Tiffany and Josh High. It's going to be a great event. You can go to futureflipper.com and go to events, and you will see there where to buy a ticket, and you could use the promo code Brian to get a discount. I hope to see you guys there. All right, so now on to Jay Conner. How are you doing today, sir?
Man, Brian, I am fantastic, and thank you so much for inviting me to come on here to talk about my favorite subject, private money.
100%. Yeah, you're the private money guy. So I guess before we get into the A to Z of private money, can you give me a little bit of your backstory?
Sure. Well, I can tell you one thing. I just didn't wake up one morning and say, I think I'll go raise some private money. It didn't work into that. In fact, as with most things in life, Brian, and I know you can relate to this, the biggest growth, the biggest advances, the biggest, quantum leaps come from really big problems and challenges, right? So I'm here in this small little area, this small town called Morehead City, North Carolina, and my total target market is only 40,000 people. Can you believe that? Only 40,000 people. Well, my wife, Carol Joy, and I, we started investing in single-family houses, and we've done commercial as well. I got a paid-for shopping center, but my focus has been residential, single-family. We started in 2003 here in the area, and from 2003 to 2009, 6 years, I relied on local banks, mortgage companies to fund my deals. I didn't even know what hard money was. I never even heard of hard money. By the way, private money is not hard money. But anyway, I was using local banks. Well, man, I tell you, I remember it like it was yesterday, Brian. I actually picked up this phone. We actually still have landlines in North Carolina, if you can believe it. But I picked up my phone in my office to call my banker, whose name was Steve, and I had 2 deals under contract. Now, bear in mind, I had already been doing business with Steve at the local bank for 6 years. He had funded a ton of houses for me. So this conversation that I'm about ready to have with Steve in January 2009, I'd already had this conversation many times for 6 years. We had our pleasantries. I told Steve I got these 2 houses under contract. One in particular was in Newport, one was in Beaufort. They represented over $100,000 in profit between these 2 deals. And so I tell him about the deals, and then Steve goes quiet on me. And I'm like, that's not a good sign. Anyway, long story short, I find out on that conversation quickly that I had my line of credit shut down, no way to fund the deals, and I had been given no notice. My first thought, Brian, was it sure would have been nice to known that before I gave earnest money and got deals under contract. And back in 2009 in North Carolina, you couldn't get the earnest money back. Mm-hmm. So I hung up the phone. I sat at my desk for a moment, and I had a new mantra come to my mind, and that is it's impossible to fail unless you choose to quit. And quitting wasn't an option for me. So I called my buddy Jeff in Greensboro, North Carolina, told him what had happened. Jeff said, Jay, welcome to the club. I said, what club? He said, the club of losing your line of credit at the bank. I just lost mine last week. I said, well, how are you funding your deals? In that conversation, I heard for the first time in my life this phrase called private money and private lending. I'd never heard of it. I hung up the phone. I did my research. And let me tell you something, Brian, I put my private money program on steroids. And in less than 90 days, I was able to attract and raise without asking anybody for money. I've never asked anybody for money. I was able to attract and raise $2,150,000 in private funding that I did not have. So you know what? That was one of the biggest blessings in disguise, losing my line of credit at the bank, because in that first 12 months after losing my line of credit and starting to use private money, my business tripled the next 12 months because I had all the funding that I needed to not miss out on any deals, particularly those that required all cash offers. And you'll recall back then, of course, you were probably 12 years old, but you'll recall back then that all the foreclosures that were coming along in 2007 and 8 and 9, well, the banks weren't lending money. You had to have your own cash, and I had all this private money. So I bought a ton of bank-owned properties and foreclosures back then, and look what opportunity is now back in our lap again today because of recent times and the economy and et cetera. So that's how I got into private money. I backed into it because of a need of having to find a better and quicker way to fund my deals.
Perfect. Okay, so I guess, can you give me some of your highlights of your career, like how many deals you closed, how many rentals, stuff like that?
Sure. So since 2003, in our local area here, we have bought, purchased, and rehabbed over 450 houses, which that sounds like a lot of houses, and it is, but bear in mind that's since 2003. Now, we've done a ton more deals in addition to that, creative financing. I've bought a ton of houses on, subject to the existing note with creative financing, turning right around and selling those on terms, on lease purchase or rent to own. So my criteria is when I buy all cash using private money and I rehab a house, I'm not selling that on rent to own. I got tired of rehabbing them more than one time, right? So if I buy all cash, then I'm going to cash out. Mm-hmm. If I buy on terms, then typically I'm going to sell on terms, meaning rent to own or lease purchase, because it just makes sense, So we build wealth, long-term wealth, by buying on terms and selling on terms, and we get big checks. Well, my average profits right now are $71,000 on my flippers, on my quick flips, in this local market. I mean, our median price prior to COVID, our median price was $225,000 on a single-family house. Today, this side of COVID, we're right around $300,000 median price. But, of course, the same thing has happened throughout, across the nation with increase in prices. So a ton of rehabs, lots of flips, hence being on the right podcast with you, and then a lot of terms deals as well. So right now, I'll do 2 to 3 flips a month, averaging $71,000. So, that works out okay, over $2 million in profits there in this small area per year.
How do you get your deals?
Isn't that the $1 million question? Yeah. I can tell you where we don't get our deals. Okay. You don't get them in the multiple listing service because there's no inventory, right? Now, I think we're going to see some bank-owned properties showing up in the multiple listing service. because of foreclosures opening up, but they're not there yet. So where do I get my deals? Well, in a small area, first let me say this, and I know you tell your listeners this all the time, but my belief is until a real estate investor has consistent motivated seller leads off market, FSBOs, for sale by owners, coming into their funnel every day, then real estate investing is a hobby and not a business. So consistent seller leads coming in every day. So what's my number one quality lead source? Well, it's really two. So it's sort of a toss between the two. So I'll start with Google Ads. So my Google Ads are very, very high quality. Of course, Google Ad leads, cost more. But right now, my Google Ad seller lead is averaging $150, which is pretty cheap.
That's very
for a
cheap.
Google Ad lead. Folks in Raleigh, North Carolina are paying $315 on average for a Google Ad lead. But, I only need 5. On average, I only need 5 Google Ad leads to buy a house on my lands. 5 times $150. That's pretty cheap advertising to get a $71,000 average profit deal. So I have 3 different funnels going, marketing ad campaigns going for Google Ads here in my market. Next to that is my foreclosure letters and my foreclosure tracking system. Carol Joy, my wife, and I started putting this together back in 2004, where we track physically. We go to the courthouse. We do not rely on any online services because the information is not updated quick enough for my liking. So we go to the courthouse. I say we have a courthouse assistant that we've had for years that goes to the courthouse twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. And we track every open foreclosure file. Here in North Carolina, it's called the Special Proceedings Room. It's part of the Clerk of Court's office. And we track every open foreclosure file from the date of notice of default. In some states, it's called a notice of or a summons. From the date that file is opened, and the substitute trustee that's handling that foreclosure has sent the information to the courthouse. From the date that file is open, we track it. When's the hearing date? When's the sale date? And in between the notice of default and the sale, I have 8 sequential letters that we mail to these people. You get a crazy 57% response on average, which if anybody knows anything about direct mail, that's crazy nuts. You're right, really knocking it out of the park if you get 3%. But the reason they do so well is because the message is a perfect match to the market. And they're cumulative. So we mail out 8 letters. If they have more than one layer of motivation, we not only do the letter. So what do I mean by that? More than one layer of motivation is they're in foreclosure and their house is not going to sell yet. Another layer of motivation would be, is it an inherited property? So if it's in foreclosure and it's inherited, we not only mail, but we skip trace and outbound call them, and we knock on the door, right? If it's vacant and inherited and in a foreclosure, then, we hire the Secret Service to go find these people. So, all those layers of motivation, the more profitable and more likely that is going to be a really, really good deal. However, I've learned over the years, the harder it is to find the owner or owners of a property, the more profitable it's going to be and the more likely you're going to get it, because the other real estate investors aren't going to jump through all those hoops to find the people, like we do. So Google Ads, direct mailing people that are in foreclosure, but the house is not going to sell yet. Thirdly, are Facebook ads. So Facebook ads are my ads that, and by the way, video obviously works much, much better on Google ads and Facebook ads than just graphics. So I've recorded, videos, to increase that response. So on Facebook ads, they just show up in your news feed. Well, I need 15 of those to buy a house, because a Facebook ad is not as quality as a Google ad, because those people, are looking for us. Buy my house, sell my house, sell my house fast, all those kinds of things. And we do direct mail as well. I call other wholesaler signs. I love it. I don't wholesale deals. I've never wholesaled a deal in my life. I just like $71,000 better than 7,000 or 10 or 12 or 15. But within a small area, there's very, very few other real estate investors that are like really, really consistent. So we'll call other bandit signs, knowing in all probability they are a wholesaler. And so we'll call and introduce ourselves and get us added to their buyers list. And of course, we convince them that we can close any deal you got that makes sense within 7 days because we got the private money. We got the cash lined up, ready to go, ready to close. I get all my title searches done by my attorney within 24 business hours. I got money sitting on the shelf, ready to close. And that's a big benefit of private money. I mean, when you got the cash ready to go and you don't have to apply for the loan, because again, private money is not hard money. You're not applying for any loan. You're already approved with your private lenders having the money pledged, ready to go. Anyway, I should catch my breath and let you say something.
No, I think this is all great. It's very interesting. There's like a few things I want to talk about, but how long have you been a real estate investor?
Since 2003, 19 years as of today.
19 years from today. Okay. I guess, what changes have you seen in the last 19 years as far as like strategies and fundamentals of real estate investing, or are they the same? Have they been the same pretty much?
Fundamentals are the same. What do we mean by fundamentals?
I guess fundamentals would be like, how are you finding deals? How are you funding deals? And how are you selling deals? It sounds like...
Excellent question. So let's address all three of those. Finding deals has changed big time.
Oh, really?
19 years ago, I didn't know nothing about Google.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I'm still thinking like, there's always been Google.
So I mean, I didn't know anything about Google 19 years ago. I mean,
Facebook.
I didn't know anything about Facebook 19 years ago. So how did I first start finding deals? Well, way back then, you could actually find them in the multiple listing service. From 2003 until maybe 3 or 4 years ago. You could find deals in the multiple listing service. Bank-owned properties, you could find a fixer-upper now and then in the multiple listing service. So the majority of the years that I've been in the business, multiple listing service was, a good source. But that's changed in the past 3 years or so. I mean, hey, Brian, this is gonna date me. This is gonna tell you how old I am. When I first started investing in real estate, realtors and realty companies actually published a monthly thing called the Homes Magazine, like the Carteret County Realtor Association published the monthly Homes Magazine with pictures, and you could flip through the magazine and look at pictures and look at list prices. Well, the internet, did away with all that kind of stuff.
That's called Zillow.
So Zillow. So I've got some friends that still do outbound calling to people that advertise on Zillow, but the deals there are few and far between, particularly in this market, right? Now, I tell you, there is a source I've used for a lot of years, and I still use it, and that's auction.com. Auction.com, that's a free service that you can sign up for. But the catch is you got to have the cash, right? If you win the bid on auction.com, you got to give them 5% on your credit card of your winning bid, immediately, they're going to charge it immediately if you win the bid. And then you got to close in a reasonably, pretty quick period of time.
Okay. So I guess.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. We didn't finish answering the question. So what's changed? Finding deals. We talked about that. Funding deals, well, we sort of answered that. My first 6 years, I used local banks. Since then, all cash deals are funded with private money, doing business with individuals. And then selling, one thing that's changed is just because of experience. So if I rehab a property that my criteria is that if I'm going to put more than $10,000 of renovations in it, it's getting to be what I would call, I don't want to have to put that money in it again. I'm probably going to put it in the multiple listing service and cash out. 10 to 15,000 or more, probably going to put it in the multiple listing service. But if I can buy a home and it doesn't need hardly any repair, I buy it on terms, subject to the existing note or seller financing, I'm going to turn around and sell it on terms, then I go that way. But what's changed is I used to, and I tell you, Brian, it takes me forever to get knocked in the head and finally wake up and change what I'm doing. But for a long time, I would rehab a house and I would do multiple marketing. I'd put it in the multiple listing service and I would also offer it on rent to own. And whoever showed up with the money first that I liked, I'd go with that. Okay, the rent to own buyer's got $15,000, $20,000 to give me in a non-refundable lease option deposit. I'll take the 15 or 20 grand, take it off the market, sell it to them. So the 15 or 20 grand was attractive, but I learned that, if they don't cash out, if they don't get ready for a mortgage, I get the house back and now I got to fix it up again. So I did change that on selling. As I said, if I'm buying it with private money, I'm rehabbing it, we're going to go ahead and cash out in the multiple listing service and sell it. If I don't have to put much in it and I'm buying it on terms, then I'll still sell it on terms.
Okay. Another question before we get into the private money. So this is more like a wisdom question, 2 parts. Wisdom, right? Because you've been in the game longer than I have, obviously. What regrets or what advice would you give someone who is in their first 10 years of real estate investing, now that you're at like 20?
Two very, very valuable pieces of wisdom come to mind from my mistakes. So one is, if I knew when I started what I now know, I would have started with private money. I don't know how many deals I missed out on because I had maxed out on my line of credit at the bank and I didn't have the cash. And I couldn't make an offer on the property. They wouldn't sell it to me on terms. So I missed out on the deal by not having private money. I mean, let's face it. In the real world, most sellers, I don't care if it's a for sale by owner or otherwise, most sellers are going to require all the cash. I buy as many houses on terms as I can, but my statistics show only 13% of for sale by owners will sell to me creatively. What do the other 87% require? All the money, right? So if I knew then what I now know, I would have started out with private money. In fact, I share with my students all the time. If you're brand new, the money comes first. Is there always going to be deals? Yeah, there's always going to be deals. But it's just downright depressing and stressful to be talking with a seller and they want all the money and you ain't got it, right? So I say and preach, get your money lined up. It's easy to get $500,000 or more in private money in less than 30 days, what I call sitting on the shelf, ready to go. How much more confident are you going to be in making offers when you got hundreds of thousands or $1 million or $2 million burning a hole in your pocket? Right? So that's number one. Number two, big mistake I made. Big mistake. So I had only been in the business for a couple of years, and the market was pretty hot at that time. And at the time, if you could fog a mirror and just, give somebody a pulse, they would approve you for a line of credit unsecured. So I had an unsecured line of credit back then. This was my first 2 years in the business. And there was this property that was over on the beach. It was a condominium, oceanfront, beautiful, bank-owned property. And here's my big mistake, and it cost me a lot of blood for a few years. I bought the property with the intention of flipping it, right? So I bought it, fixed it up, turned it into a beautiful, beautiful vacation home or condo. And by the time I got it rehabbed, all done to put on the market had already started to turn. Prices had already started to come down. And hard-headed Jay Connor, I kept the price at the same, still trying to get my price.
Yeah.
My head was in the dirt. My butt was in the air. And you know when your head's in the dirt and your butt's in the air, you're going to get kicked in the butt, right? So I was hard-headed, and I wouldn't come down on my price. Well, enough time went by to where I couldn't even sell it. So what did I have to resort to? I had to resort to renting it out. Well, guess what? I did not figure up front. I did not calculate, well, if I get stuck holding this property, can I get it to cash flow and cover my underlying debt, carrying cost, and et cetera? Boy, was that a big mistake. So the property I can only rent out for 12 weeks out of the year because it's on the beach. The rest of the year, there's hundreds of condos for rent, and nobody's renting them because it's not the time of year to come to the beach. So here's the lesson. Do not, unless you want to make the same mistake I did, do not buy a property, even if your intention is flipping, which I flip a ton of them. Even if your intention is flipping, calculate what you can rent that thing out for, either on rent to own or straight rental or whatever. And there's a long list of benefits to do rent to own instead of rentals. But anyway, calculate what you can bring in per month up front, and will that cover your underlying debt? If it won't, don't do the deal.
Got it. Okay. Two more things before we get into private money. I know.
We're killing the audience. They're ready for this.
Yeah, well, I'm
stuff.
interested in you, to be honest, because I may sound weird, but I like talking to my elders because I feel like that's one reason. Yeah.
What? Talking to your
elders?
what?
Is that the right word? I'm sorry, I don't know how to say. I like talking to people older than me and people with more experience. Is that? I'm not good at English, so okay.
I'm giving you a hard time.
So, oh man, I forgot my question. Oh yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I messed you up.
My question was, what motivates you? I'm pretty sure you can kind of pack your bags and kind of just go hang out somewhere at this point. Why are you still doing this?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let me answer that question with a short story.
Okay.
So a few years ago, I was riding down the highway with a good friend of mine. We go to church together. And we've known each other for 20, 25 years. Really good friends. And we're riding down the road, and and his name is Neil. And just out of the blue, Neil says, Jay, when is enough enough? And I said, what do you mean, Neil? When is enough enough? He says, well, you don't have to be doing all that you're doing and doing all that business and helping real estate investors get private money and still doing deals. It's like, you work. Of course, by the way, in this business, in the buying and selling house business, I'm in it less than 10 hours a week. He says, how do you reconcile doing all this, getting more with the scripture when the Apostle Paul says to be content? How do you reconcile that teaching? I said, that's easy, Neil. And here's the answer. Enough is never enough when it's not about you. Enough is never enough when it's not about you. And here's what I mean by this. What motivates me is being able to make an impact in other people's lives in various ways. So we're very involved in our church. So we like to give financially. We're also very involved with a college that's down in Florida that Christians go to. We love to participate with what's going on with that college. We have a new family that just moved here to our area that their fourth child, which is a baby, is having big-time heart surgeries, and it's a baby. Well, we're able to make an impact in that family's life. So what motivates me is giving back. What motivates me is serving. What gets me out of bed is making a difference in that other person's life in whatever way that is, whether it's encouragement, giving them hope, helping them out financially. And, you know, I think and I believe that we human beings were created to serve. We're created to help others out. And what motivates me is doing that. But if I sat home on my sofa and watched Andy Griffith and ate Cheetos, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing.
You went old school with the Andy Griffith. Yeah.
Well, since I am your elder, I need to tell you what reruns I watch.
Okay.
If you're listening to this podcast, then my guess is you're interested in real estate investing. Some of you are just starting out, while others are trying to scale their business to the next level. But the problem is, with so much information out there, most people don't know which program or coach to trust. Well, I'm a bit biased, but I believe my company, Future Flipper, can help you get to the next level. We've coached thousands of students from all over the world on how to build their real estate investing business. It doesn't matter whether you want to flip, wholesale, or buy rentals. Our coaching program has everything you need to become a great investor. There are many things that we include with coaching, but to give you a few examples, you're going to get an accountability coach. These are people that have had success in their own business, and they want to make sure that you achieve success in yours. We also have all of our documents, our systems, and processes that I've used to buy hundreds of homes. You can copy and paste them directly into your own business. And we have events where you get to meet me, top-level guest speakers, and other students who are crushing it. My students do deals with each other, and I personally do deals with them too. In fact, at a recent event, I just honored over 20 people in our program that made over $1 million in the last year. So if you want to grow your real estate business, head over to futureflipper.com and apply for a call with our team. The call is completely free, and they can help point you in the right direction whether you work with us or not. So go to futureflipper.com and book your call today.
I'm going to start off differently. So I actually haven't been a big fan of private money because I came into this business with the mindset of, like, you know, work hard, make money, save it, and then invest that money. Not like get other people's money, invest it, and make money. And it always made me nervous that I would use someone else's money and then invest it and then lose, and now they lost their money. And I'm pretty good because it wasn't my money anyways. And I've also seen people do that where they go out, have absolutely no experience. They go out, raise money, lose because they had no experience. So they never put in the work to have that money. I don't know if that makes sense. And then they go lose, and now they just blew someone else's money. So honestly, I've never been a fan. I don't want to say I haven't been a fan, but I personally haven't raised a lot of money because of those things. What? Go ahead.
Well, you bring up some really, really important points there, but go ahead before I comment.
Yeah, so I guess, like, why do you think it's safe or smart for someone with no experience to raise private money if they haven't had to put in the work to make that much money?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, I never recommend for a new real estate investor to take on a major rehab project with no experience, right? I mean, you need the general contractor relationships in place. So definitely on your first major rehab, joint venture with somebody that knows what they're doing, or, you know, at least have a smart mentor at your beck and call on the telephone. But here's why. In all these years, so I've been using private money for all cash deals since 2009, as I shared the story when we started out. So why have my private lenders never, ever lost any money. Well, I have my private land. I got 44 of them right now. You don't need 44. Just start out with one or two, right? So I've got $8.5 million of those 44 private lenders that I rotate from house to house to house to house, right? And I'll have, like right now, sometimes people say, well, Jay, why are you using private money and you making all that money? Isn't it a smart idea to use your own cash for all cash deals? Isn't that and then you're not paying interest on it? Of course, for short term, that's a great investment of your own cash. But I don't want my cash tied up in 20 houses or 20 projects, right? I don't want all that cash of mine, going on at the same time. So my second comment is the reason my private lenders have never lost any money. They've always been paid what was due to them in the deal. And by the way, I don't joint venture with private lenders. They do not get a piece of the action. They don't get part of the profit. I don't joint venture with private lenders. They act as a bank. My LLC owns all the properties, and the private lender is the lender. They get the same protection as a regular bank, right? So the reason they've never lost any money and always got all the money coming to them is because of my buying criteria. My rule is do not borrow more than 75% of the after repaired value. So that's a 25% cushion between the after repaired value and the amount that I'm borrowing. So if the market changes and prices start to come down, I got plenty of room to lower that price, and my private lender is still made whole. Now, the only way that formula is going to work, and by the way, I never take any of my own money to the closing table. Never. I always bring them a big check when I buy, because I always borrow more than I need to buy the property. And that's because I'm going to be having rehabbing costs and et cetera. Very common for me to bring home a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 check when I buy and take none of my own money to the closing. Now, the only way that formula is going to work, and why it does work, is because on a major rehab, it's very common for me to buy a house, buy a property at 40 to 50% of the after repaired value. So here's a quick little example. Let's say I got a house, for easy figuring, that's got an after repaired value of $200,000. And let's say, for sake of conversation, I'm going to buy that house for $100,000, which is very common in my world. That house is going to need a rehab. I'm not going to be buying that house at 50% of the after repaired value unless there's going to be rehab involved. People just aren't going to sell at that kind of a discount unless there's major work to be done. So $200,000 after repaired value, I buy it for $100,000. Well, using my criteria, I can borrow up to 75% of the after repaired value. Let's say the rehab is $30,000, $35,000. Well, I'll get my private lender to wire, one of my private lenders, to wire $150,000, that's 75% of the after repaired value, to my real estate attorney. We use attorneys in North Carolina to close deals. Most states use title companies and escrow companies. Anyway, so whoever the closing agent is, wire the money to the closing agent. So here's $150,000 that's wired in. That's 75% of the after repaired value, $200,000. I bought it for $100,000. So I'm going to bring home a check, less closing cost, of $50,000. Well, the rehab's 30 or 35. I can use the other $15,000 any way I want to. Marketing cost, Murphy does exist in every property. Murphy lives in every property, right? And sometimes Murphy's cousins and sometimes Murphy's children show up. That's the unexpected, right? So I bring home a big check. Now, when I go to sell it, let's say the after repaired value is still $200,000. Well, I still owe the private lender only $150,000 because either the payments, the interest is accruing and I'm making no payments, or some of my private lenders actually need monthly payments because they're living off of the interest. So we're making monthly interest payments. Well, I don't pay principal and interest. I pay interest only. Therefore, the principal loan amount remains the same until cash out. So I sell it for $200,000, less realtor fees. I'm going to pay the private lender off their $150,000 principal loan amount plus any accrued interest. So why have I never been concerned and didn't have to be concerned about taking care of my private lenders? Number one, it's all in buy and right. Repairs are always more than you expect them to be. So you got to buy right. You got to buy at the right discounted amount. And I'm not borrowing more than 75% of the after repaired value. Therefore, we got this big cushion. Now, is my private lender trusting me and my team to get that house rehabbed? Because, I mean, they're going, and also they're protected. I mean, I'm not borrowing unsecured funds. Can I borrow unsecured funds? Sure, it's legal. I'm not borrowing unsecured funds. My private lender is getting a deed of trust. Same thing as a mortgage here in North Carolina. It's a deed of trust. So if I don't pay them, and here's a writer downer in the world of private money, if I don't pay my private lender, the property does. In other words, if I don't keep up my end of the deal, they get the property. And in fact, they're going to make more money off the property than the interest I would pay them. So their investment is secured. There's three big reasons private lenders do business with me and do business with my students. The number one reason is they're going to make a lot of money. So right now I'm paying private lenders 8%. Well, compare that to what they can get in the local bank. A 12-month certificate of deposit right now nationwide is paying a whopping 0.17%, even with all the increase in mortgage rates and et cetera. That's less than 0.25%. Well, if I pay them 8%, that's more than 32 times more money than they're going to get in a certificate of deposit. So number one, they're going to make a lot of money. Number two, their investment with me, their loan with me, is secure and it's safe. It's secure because I'm not borrowing unsecured funds. They're getting a mortgage or a deed of trust, and they can foreclose on me if they need to. It is safe because it is a conservative loan to value, 75% of the after repaired value. And then thirdly, the reason they absolutely love loaning their money out is because their investment or the value of their investment is not volatile. What I'm doing is I'm contrasting private money program to the stock market. When somebody invests in the stock market, as you know, what they invest in, first of all, they already lost money. There's fees, there's commissions. There's no fees and commissions in this world of private money, right? Their principal loan amount remains the same until cash out, and they know exactly what their return is going to be. Unlike the stock market, it's volatile. The value of their investment can go down, it can go up. And I tell you, the older the private lender is, the more important that is, because the older a private lender is, I mean, is there going to be a correction in the stock market? Year to date, there already has been, and there'll be more. Does anybody know when? No. But our private lenders get to sleep soundly at night because they don't have to worry about the value of their investment going up and down and losing any money. They know exactly what their rate of return is going to be, and it just gives them a lot of comfort.
Okay, so I guess let's just go like straight into, the basics of private money. Private money or gap funding. Some people use the word gap funding. Where do you find private money investors?
Yeah, so first of all, let me for a moment talk about self-directed IRAs. So it's really, really important to establish a relationship. I mean, if you want to attract a lot of private money and have the money chasing you, of my 44 private lenders right now, over half of them are investing in my deals, AKA loaning money on my deals from their retirement account. Well, what they've done is they have moved existing retirement money over into a self-directed IRA company, also called a third-party custodian, that's been approved by the IRS. So they moved their money over, and now they can truly self-direct or be a private lender and loan it out. So one great place to network and find people that are already private lenders loaning their money out are at networking events of self-directed IRA companies, right? So I don't know if you recommend a particular self-directed IRA company. I'm using one right now that I have been for the past 5 years, and they fund my deals in 3 days. 3 days I get the money wired from one of my private lenders' accounts at that self-directed IRA company. So self-directed IRA companies have on Zoom today, they have networking events where you as the real estate investor can come into a Zoom networking event and network with those individuals that already have an account at self-directed IRA companies. And did you know this? Over 70% of account holders that have self-directed IRA accounts are wanting and do loan money to real estate investors. 70%, over 70%. So right there's a great place. There's 3 primary categories, Brian, where to find private lenders. And here they are. Number 1 is what I call your own personal warm market. I'll define that in a second. Secondly is what I call existing private lenders that I just talked about. And the third category is what I call your expanded warm market. And I'll describe that briefly. So who is your warm market? Your warm market is anybody that you've got any kind of relationship with. They are in your cell phone. And I'll tell you, you know a lot more people than you think you do. Just think how many contacts are in your cell phone. All of them and the people they know are potential private lenders. That's your warm market. Cell phone. Who's on your email list? Potential private lenders. If they're on your email list, they're in your warm market. Social media. Who are you connected with on Instagram? Who are you connected with on Facebook? Who are you connected with on LinkedIn? Who are you connected with on Snapchat or whatever they call that thing? So any of your any of your social media contacts are potential private lenders as well. Who do you go to church with? Who do you go to the Rotary Club with? Who are you in the Chamber of Commerce with? Any kind of groups that you are already in. That's the warm market. Your expanded warm market is, sometimes students will say to me, they say, Jay, my warm market is broke. Yeah. All my people ain't got no money. Well, first of all, I don't believe them. I think they're just intimidated to even start a conversation about private money. Or lazy, mm-hmm. or they don't see the benefit of it, right? So expanded warm market. Well, how do you expand your warm market? Those areas I just mentioned. Get involved in the community, right? Get in, Rotary clubs, Chamber of Commerce, et cetera, et cetera. And then existing private lenders. Well, I already mentioned one place to find existing private lenders, and that's people that have accounts at self-directed IRAs. But where else can you find them? Well, when I started out, I hired my real estate attorney's paralegal to search public records in our local county looking for individuals that are loaning money out secured by real estate, having a mortgage. I didn't want company names. I want individual names like Brian Davila, right? That's loaning money out and has a deed of trust. Well, in 90 days, I only found 2 people. I said, well, I need a quicker and better way. So years ago, we hired sophisticated software developers, and I now have my own personal private lender data feed, and my students have access to it as well. But in that data feed, we update it every month, and we have a record of every private lender loan that's closed in the United States, everywhere. The individual's name, who they are, the amount of money they're loaning out, the interest rate they're getting, all this comes from public records, their contact information, all that stuff. And so now myself and my students access existing private lenders at the push of a button, just using the private lender data feed. But those are the primary places that, locate private lenders.
And then let's just get into the super basic little questions that I know sometimes those little questions prevent people from taking action. So let's just say I find you're a private money lender. I find a deal on Banana Street. I'm like, hey, Jay, I got this deal. It's $100,000. I need $50,000 for the rehab. What do you do? And you agree? What are the next things you do?
I'm so glad you asked that. I'm so glad you asked that question, Brian, because that's the way most real estate investors approach private money. So here's the deal. I've never pitched a deal in my life. I've never pitched a deal. Because if I contact a private lender for the first time and I have a deal, I'm already sounding desperate, right? Or, so here's the thing. How do I have all this private money and I've never asked for money and I've never pitched a deal and I get my deals funded? I put on my teacher hat. That's a writer downer right there. In my warm market, none of my private lenders today had ever heard of private money. They didn't know what private money was. They didn't know what private lending was. So I taught them what private money is, and I taught them my program. So, what's the interest rate? What's the length of the note? How are you protected? What happens if Jay Conner loses his mind and moves to the Caribbean? How are you protected? How can you get your money back in case of an emergency and you need to get your money back? So I teach them about private money and my private lending program. And by the end of my teaching, which only takes about 20 minutes to walk through my private lending program that I teach to potential private lenders, that can mean a group. I mean, I've raised $969,000 at one private lender luncheon where I only invited 20 people. And I fed them. And I taught them my private lending program. So here's the secret sauce. This is so important. I teach the program how they can earn high rates of return safely and securely. And I teach them the program. At that point, I shut up. I don't even ask them. Well, I mean, now they're chasing me. Where else are they going to get these high rates of return safely and securely? It's our job to get the word out. I mean, they need us more than we need them, right? So we teach them the program. Now they tell me how much funds they have available. Is it liquid investment capital? Is it retirement funds? Do I need to introduce them to my representative at my self-directed IRA company that I do business with? Where are they getting the money from? They tell me the range of investment they got to work with. And I say, great. I will now go find you and me a deal just as soon as possible. Well, that might be within a day, 2 days, 3 days. It might be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 30 days. But I want to put that money to work for them just as soon as possible so it doesn't disappear on me and they use it somewhere else. Now, here's the secret sauce. They love the private lending program. They've told me how much they have to invest. So the first secret is do not bring a deal and get a new private lender in the same conversation. All right? That's the first secret. Second secret is now you got a deal. The most stupid thing I could do would be to pick up the phone, call them up, and say, I got a deal, explain the deal, and ask them, do they want to do the deal? That's stupid. Of course they want to do the deal. They've been waiting for the phone call. So I have a deal. I call them up, and I only tell them 4 things. And initially, that's actually more than they want to know. I call them up. Here's exactly the scripting, Brian. I call them up and I say, Brian, let's say you're one of my private lenders. I'll call you up and I say, hey, Brian, how's the day going? How's the golf game? Chit, chat, get it over with. People are busy.
My golf game's going terrible. Say, it's short and to the right now, but I'm working on it.
The score's fella. There you go. There you go. And I'll say, Brian, I've got great news. I can now put your money to work for you. I've got a house over in Newport. The after repaired value is $200,000. The funding required for the deal is $150,000. Stop right there. I know you got $150 because you already told me, and you're waiting for me to call you. I say I got a house over here in Newport. The after repaired value is $200,000. The funding required for the deal is $150,000, and you'll need to have your funds wired to my real estate attorney next Thursday, because that's when the closing is. End of conversation. I mean, I didn't ask you if you wanted to do the deal. You've been waiting for my phone call, dying on the vine, when to put your money to work. And I'm not asking you to do the deal. I just tell you. And look, that's the first phone call. On the second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th, and 20th phone call in the future, when we're doing more deals together, I call you up, and you know what? There's only two things you want to know. How much do you need, and when do you need it? Boom. That's it. They don't even care about. And notice, I didn't even tell them the street address. They could care less what the street address is. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm not pitching a deal. Good night. That would be stressful. I'm establishing a relationship first, either with a new private lender that's out of my warm market or somebody I met, or an existing private lender. We establish a relationship, and then I call them up with good news.
You more pitch or teach or whatever you want to use the private money investor first before even introducing a deal, making sure they're ready to go, making sure they understand how it is, making sure they understand the whole process. That's what you call your program. And then once they're on board, then you call them when you have a deal and let them know, hey, got a deal. I need the money by here. Let's go. And what if a private money lender says, hey, I want to go look at the house, or hey, can you send me the numbers on the deal? What happens? Because I'm pretty sure people.
I've never had
anyone want to know the numbers on the deal or the address or anything. What? No.
Nope. But you know what? If they wanted to, I mean, they've never asked me the purchase price. They don't care. They just want to know what's in it for them, right? Now, if you've got a sophisticated private lender that's been already doing it for years, they're going to want to know all that stuff. And they should, right? But the people that I teach in my warm market, they just want it simple. Simple, simple, simple. Because I've learned the more you flap your lips, the less money you're going to get. And what I mean by flapping your lips is like trying to talk somebody into a deal. There ain't no talking anybody into anything. I'm not selling. I'm not begging. I'm not chasing. I'm teaching and offering a fantastic opportunity. Hey, look, here's the deal. There is no fear of rejection if you can't be rejected. Right? I mean, I'm not asking anybody for money. I'm teaching them what it's all about and giving them an opportunity. Yeah. I mean, there's no rejection in that, right? Particularly if I'm not feeling like I'm getting ready to lose a $100,000 deal and I'm just going to die if I don't talk somebody into funding this deal. It's a whole different mindset. Hey, look, the worst time to be raising private money is when you need money for a deal. That's the worst time to be raising private money. The best time to be raising private money is when you don't need it for a particular
and I'm glad
deal.
And then you said you're going to be able to talk to our students later today, right? At 3 p.m.? Because I'm going to send out a text. Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited because we're going to talk more details. But I guess the last question I want to ask about the private money, because we're up at an hour already. Let's go back to the example. I know your private money lender got the deal. You say, hey, I have a deal. I'm like, hey, Jay, I need 150. You agree. Can you walk me through the documents, the process? Am I going to your house, picking up some cash, taking it to my bank? Like, how do you what's the best way to facilitate everything?
Sure. So first, they're already on the list. I mean, I've got a simple file in the filing cabinet. Here's my private lenders, and here's how much money each one has got available, right? So I put them in the queue. When I pay one off, they just work their way up the queue. So I call them up. I tell them the deal. I tell them when they need to have their funds wired, right? So typically it's about a week out. It's about a week out from the time we're going to close. At that time, what happens? What are the documents? Well, here are the documents, and it's a million times simpler than a traditional closing with a bank lender, okay? The first document is the promissory note. What's the promissory note? Well, you all know what that is. It has who's the lender. Well, that's the private lender's name, not their company. They ain't got a company. Private lender's name is the lender. Who's the borrower? That's my LLC or my land trust, whatever entity that I'm buying the property in. What's the principal loan amount? All right, there's the principal loan amount. What are the frequency of payments, if there are any payments? I mean, stop and think about it. In this world of private money, you bring home a big check, and you don't even have to make any payments until you cash out on some of the deals. So what's the frequency of payments? What's the interest rate, right? Am I giving them a 90-day call option? Can they call the note due early if they have an emergency, right? So the promissory note, very, very simple document. Second document is the deed of trust or the mortgage. One and the same, just depends on the state the property's in. That collateralizes their note, right? That gives them the legal right to foreclose if you do not pay them. Well, guess what? If you're not making monthly payments, there's no foreclosure there, and you're going to need to pay them when you cash out, or your new buyer can't get a clear title, right? So deed of trust or mortgage to collateralize the note. The third document is the insurance policy. So on the insurance policy, we name the private lender as the mortgagee. So if you have any insurance claims, the private lender is protected because the insurance company is going to make the check payable to your company and to your private lender. Your private lender's got to sign off on that check before you deposit it. It protects them. And then on the title policy, the private lender is named as the additional insured in case there's any title issues down the road. And in 19 years, I've never had any title issues, but I'd never buy a property without title policy.
Those three.
And that's it. That's all the documentation. And here's what's really cool. Go ahead. Oh, yeah. So here's what's really cool. I don't have to spend 30 minutes or an hour on the phone with my real estate attorney telling the attorney or the paralegal how to prepare the documents. And I'm for sure not going to prepare the documents. Nobody on my employee staff is going to prepare the documents. The real estate attorney always prepares the closing documents that I just went over. Well, they only got two documents to prepare. The deed, the promissory note, and either the deed of trust or mortgage. Now, I've got a simple one-page Word document that takes less than 5 minutes, literally, to fill in, that we email. I call it my closing agent instruction letter. And we just fill in who's the borrower, who's the lender, what's the principal loan amount, what's the physical address that's collateralizing the note, what's the interest rate, what's the frequency of payments, and we email that document to our real estate attorney, their paralegal, and boom, closing documents are prepared and ready to go within 24 hours. So there's no cash. It's all checks, right? The private lender's wiring the funds to the real estate attorney or your closing agent. And by the way, I don't even have to go sign any documents. I've given power of attorney to my real estate attorney. My real estate attorney can buy and sell any property on behalf of me because I have given them power of attorney. Since I love to travel, and me and my wife travel a lot, I just approve the closings by email with my real estate attorney.
Oh, that's crazy.
And boom, they can actually do the closings for me.
Well, I think this was a great podcast, and hopefully I did not offend you when I used the word elder. But like I said, I think I've had a little bit of success in the last few years, and it's because I always go to people who have more experience and pick their brain, try to gain their wisdom, so I don't have to go through the same hardships. So I think this is a great podcast. If anyone's interested in learning more about private money, I know you're going to be on a coaching call with our students, but let's just say they're not one of our students. What do you want them to do, the listeners to do?
Sure. So look, if you are listening to this podcast, which you are, or you wouldn't be hearing me say this, I have got a free gift for you. I'm so excited about it. If you're interested in learning more about private money and getting a lot of private money fast to where you don't miss out on any deals, then I've got a brand new, I just finished writing it. It's a private money guide, and it's called 7 Reasons Why Private Money Will Skyrocket Your Real Estate Business and Help You Build Incredible Wealth. You can download it absolutely for free, F-R-E-E, free, and here's where you go to download it. Go to www.jayconner, J-A-Y-C-O-N-N-E-R, I'm an E-R, not an O-R, JAYCONNER.com/money guide, jayconner.com/money guide, and it will get you on the fast track to private money.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Jay, for coming on. I really appreciate it. If you're still listening to this, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and if you're interested in learning more about flipping houses, wholesaling, building your wealth, check out futureflipper.com and book a free call with someone on our team, and we will see you on the next episode. We are out.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jayconner.com/money guide. That's JCONNER.com/money guide. And download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jayconner.com/money guide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.